Cool. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna get started. We are right at 4:30 Eastern. This is another hot seat. I love the hot seats. These are so much fun because I get to learn a bunch and I get to record them and share it out with all the community. And we're on Facebook Live. That's great. This is I guess round two for Paige.
Yeah.
They previously did the game changer stuff, so that's a really cool hot seat that we did. Go check that out if you haven't already. They make some really cool copper products, and now we get to talk about OSDP. This is a big topical conversation in the industry and access control especially. And I've been hearing a lot about it through companies like Wavelength's, been working with Phoenix. So it's a really interesting topic because we have to really consider the security implications around installing stuff on the physical side. Right now we're installing a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily the most secure, and we have to make a change globally in the industry. And in my opinion, I think a lot of people would agree with that as well. So David, did you want to kind of kick it off, or how do you want to do this? Go for
Yeah,
it.
that's going to be great. I'm going to kick it off. I'll turn it over to Tony as well. But I think the reason you're hearing so much about OSDP right now, it's hitting a tipping point. We're seeing hardware manufacturers really move away from Wiegand-style card readers and systems and put OSDP in the forefront. And if someone asked me why, because there's a million reasons why, but if someone asked me why, I'd say it's because it's the only way to make sure your building is more secure and more intelligent. And if you are listening to this and you're watching this, it's probably because you're a security professional. And if you're a security professional, you are about to learn that you've got a hole in your boat. You know, if you are still using Wiegand-style systems, if your customers still have a Wiegand-style system, there is a hole in your boat and you have to plug it. That is the type of urgency with which you should approach the physical and cybersecurity elements of your customers' buildings. And as we return to our places of work, there are going to be a number of other changing parts of the world where some of the features and benefits of OSDP are going to create great things for you as well. But I'm of the belief that you should really only have one good reason why you make a decision. Everything else is just sort of on top of that. And in this case, security is really the big concern. And as a security professional, you're about to learn what we're talking about. We're going to show some examples. So we'll turn it over to Tony Campbell, Regional Director from Paige, located in Tampa, and with a much better looking shirt and background, and I'll say a face as well. So Tony, the floor is yours. Why don't you get us started with what the problem is here that we're really faced with?
Well, David, thank you for the introduction. Always great to be back here on Low Voltage Nation. Very excited about it. So thank you for having us again. Again, like what David said, we're just kind of look at your whole channel of OSDP. And as we provide copper solutions and so forth, it's really kind of what we're going to be talking about is this copper support system. So the first thing, what we kind of want to walk you through is identifying what that problem was. And it was really kind of in our face for a long time, because as you know, Wiegand systems that we've all been using for many, many years, it's about 47 years old. It's almost, it's 2 years shy of me. So I'll tell you something right here come Saturday. But, having this system out there for as long as it was, we've used it, we've enjoyed it. But back to David's point, there's a hole in the boat, and we really need to plug this hole in the boat. And as you can see there on the say, it was invented in the 70s, just like me. And it became the standard in the 90s. But you can also see there's Mr. Wiegand right there in black and white. So kind of do that just to really express to you that it's been around a while. And when we started identifying the problem, I want to draw your eye to the bottom of the screen. So there's a little chip down there. It's about the size of a postage stamp. And this is what they call an ESP key. And we're going to kind of talk about this ESP key as just one of several hacks in the industry that's around the Wiegand infrastructure and that hole in the boat. And one of the problems really faced is really how secure are our buildings? We like to believe they're very secure, but I'm going to show you here in a second, it might not be the case. And how easy can they be hacked? So this is the golden question. So when we lead into here and we've identified that hole, we're going to show you how that hole looks. So what I want to kind of show you guys, I'm going to flip over to a screen here. I'm going to max this
And
out.
Tony, as you get this video queued up, I just want to set the stage here. The gentleman you see in this video, Babak Javadi, is a well-known white hat hacker. He speaks at ISC West, and he works to make sure that we understand the vulnerabilities in the systems that exist. Also want to thank ECD Systems in Tempe, Arizona for letting us record this video at their building, and I'll let the video roll.
Yeah, so with all ado, here we go.
Just how easy is it to hack into a Wiegand-style access control system? Well, let's take a look. What we have here is a hacker coming in with just a screwdriver to remove the card reader off the wall. This is a Wiegand-style card reader, so we've got a few wires. He's going to grab 4 of them, and he's going to punch it down onto a little device known as an ESP key. This device can be purchased online for $79. So this is not something that you have to worry. It can only happen with a state actor. Really, anyone with very low cost tools and devices is able to do this. What you just saw was Babak punching down these 4 conductors onto the existing wiring and then stuffing the card reader back into the wall. When he's done, this device is going to then communicate with his phone. Next step, we'll see an authorized user scanning a real badge and being able to get into it. The badge data was captured, and now the hacker can come back at any time later, pull out his phone, go to that same interface, replay that same badge data that was captured at first, and now they think he is authorized to get in.
So that's the whole video. It's done in a compressed way to help you kind of keep your attention and get through it quickly. But basically, because the card reader is only sending information one way back to the door controller and is doing it in an unsecured channel, what happens is as that data passes that ESP key, it reads it, stores it, and then can replay it whenever it wants to. If there were a pin pad or something like that, it would also capture that data. So that's the problem, and it should make you pucker. All right, so that's the intended field. Tony, tell us a little bit about the solution to this problem.
Yeah, and another thing to add what David said is when I went and bought my ESP key, there's no security credentials. It didn't care who I was. Happy to give it to you, $79 plus tax. So that should also make you pucker.
We're not waiting for, like Iran or somebody to do this. This could happen from just anyone with $80, a screwdriver, and a punch down tool.
Yes. So here, the good news is, guys, there's a solution. So, one of the things we wanted to lend a hand to is developing and being part of this, of developing an infrastructure that's going to support the OSDP standard. And here's a lot of things that a lot of you might not know. The OSDP standard has been around for about 10 years. It's actually, if you look to the bottom, it's actually in its second version of 2.2 from the CS standard. So this is something that's been getting on the plate of development and so forth. So what we're talking to you about is not new. It's just really becoming more relevant in the market today. And how they're kind of making the changes to OSDP versus the old Wiegand system, or our hole in the boat, so to speak, is changing, from the encryption capabilities to it that Wiegand can't support. It's bidirectional, so you're getting real monitoring. You're seeing these things in real time that Wiegand, again, cannot support. So if I have that hole in the boat and I'm sinking, I better see the water. Here, I'm going to know it happened as soon as I chip the boat. So this is going to give me a lot of that type of ability. And some of the other nice things that OSDP is supporting beyond Wiegand is just everything from user interface, some great integration with your other security systems and your other analytics that could be tied into CCTV and a lot of other things, as you know. And then the complexity is definitely lowered with less amount of wires and the easier upgrades. And for a lot of folks out there, you could be the facilities person listening to this webinar right here. But when you went to do an upgrade before, that really painful situation where you had to go out and go to every reader to do these updates, wouldn't it be nice if you could just do a push update to all of them at once? Well, guess what? You can. And that's what OSDP brings to the table versus Wiegand. So it's really kind of a nice solution. And we don't have to worry about that person hacking our building anymore. So we love that they allowed us to do it, but we'd like to not have to deal with that. So the next slide, what you're seeing here is in this offering in your cable, again, it's vendor neutral. It's going to work with all these great suppliers that are providing these card readers in the market, but they had to have a cable that's going to support it. And really the takeaway here is you see the Wiegand on the right side, right there, the gray cable. You see the OSDP reader cable right there. You got a single pair right there for data, a pair for power. So this is great. The takeaway is kind of the capacity of this. So if I was trying to force a Wiegand to do OSDP, and I've had that conversation with folks before, I said, you really got to look at its performance, and it really is that simple. Is the capacitance is obviously different because this is a low cap versus the Wiegand cable. As you can see, it's very significant. And also the great news, because you know we love distance, is that we can increase these distance. So there's no more 500-foot limitation. This is great for folks with historical buildings or buildings that were retrofitted to 4-axis control because they were built at the turn of the century. Now we can get these products in the right professional and secure spaces by allowing for these distances up to 4,000 feet. So that is also great news.
That's a great point, Tony. So basically, why do we need a different cable? Well, it's because this is running over the RS-485 protocol. RS-485 has its own spec for how the data is going to be sent. 4,000 feet, you can even go farther with some systems. You're going to need local power at that point when you're doing these really long runs, maybe at a guard shack, something like that. But the capacitance that Tony was talking about, low cap, we're talking like it's measured in picofarads per foot. You don't even need to know what that means, but it's 12.5 picofarads per foot for one of these types of cables. And the standard Wiegand one is going to be 47-ish, you know, and relatively speaking, that's a lot more. You're going to get questions and you're going to get fuzzy answers to these questions about, hey, I've already got cable in the wall. Can I use it? As it stands today, the answer is a little fuzzy. We're working on sharpening that answer, both with a good rule of thumb that you can apply and also with actual hardware that you're going to be able to test out. Pass fail, is this going to work? More information to come from that. It's a little tease for you, Blake. But the idea, generally speaking, is if you're going more than a couple hundred feet, it's probably a good bet that you're going to want to use a cable that's specific for RS-485 transmission. In this case, you're seeing it individually just for the card reader. And then Tony, on the next slide, he's going to show you how you can get it as part of a composite cable.
Yep. And also this could be, if you're in a situation where you can't do a rip and replace or you can't change stuff and you've got your accessories in place and you are going to be upgrading your readers, again, we have a solution for you. And having this standalone cable could let you do this. So the next cable that David was referring to is that one of the other nice things that we did is we already also created a composite style. So everything under one jacket. So this is going to handle your accessories, as you can see, your return to exit, your motion detectors, brakes, and so forth. The card reader cable is the orange in this one versus the yellow in the standalone. That's the difference in those two cables. And one last thing that people always ask David and I and our colleagues is the shielding. We offer a couple of these pairs in the shielded version. Not every system out in the market is going to require shielding. Some do, some don't. But the nice thing is you have that built in, so you don't have to worry about several different products to deal with. It's kind of a one size fits all. Yeah. So that's really nice.
Quick reminder, what does shielding do, right? It's going to block you out from a certain type of interference. You've got two types of interference in terms of high frequency or low frequency. High frequency is going to be blocked well by a foil shield like this, low frequency more by a braid. So sometimes you're going to get recommended a cable that looks like very different from what you've seen before. It's got a braid, maybe it has a braid and a shield, so all these things. That may be overkill. It also may be hard to find out in the marketplace, and it also may be very expensive. If you are going to operate in a place with heavy equipment, so maybe it's a factory floor and it's putting out a lot of that type of interference from that low frequency, then that braided product, probably something that's maybe even power limited for a tray cable, PLTC rated, that's probably a great product for that. 95% of the time you're in a commercial setting and you're not going to need that braid. This is going to be more suitable for your construction. You'll find it more widely available. You'll find it at a better price as well. And while I'm talking about price, and Tony, you can go to the next slide if you like. I just
Yeah.
want to mention that upgrading to OSDP shouldn't be costing you much more money, if any at all. You know, the hardware, the wire, these are things that should be in the same ballpark as your Wiegand style systems. So don't think that money is going to be a reason that you shouldn't start switching over to OSDP.
Right.
And also don't think that like, oh, the fear of the unknown is going to create something coming up in my job that's going to all of a sudden make me less profitable. This is going to be a much easier adoption than you may think that first time you put it out there. So push yourselves to plug that hole in your boat and start getting to OSDP without the concern of complexity or cost.
Yep. Thank you, David. That's perfect. And you can also see that we offer these put-ups and the composite, which is the full composite cable, like I have right here in my hand. I'm sorry, yeah, it's kind of blending into the background.
Kind of makes it disappear.
Yeah, it became a book. But we have a 500 footer and 1,000 foot in the full composite, and we also offer the standalone OSDP cable and 1,000 footer and these put-ups. So really happy to work.
Just say, Tony, I'm just thinking of it now, is that we've seen customers whose end user wasn't exactly ready yet to switch to OSDP, but they pulled that separate card reader cable along with a composite Wiegand style product so that they were ready when they went back to them later on and said, okay, you've seen this hacking video, you're scared, you're ready to switch to OSDP. Now we've got a cable that's already in the wall to make it easier to upgrade.
Yep. Yeah.
Why should people care about OSDP? They're on this, they've made it this far into this broadcast. Thank you, by the way. Why should they care?
Okay, so one of the reasons that you should definitely care is really the takeaway here is making your buildings more secure and more intelligent. That's really the bottom line. Let's put the hole in the boat. You know, let's get this thing so we're out there having fun. So, you know, when you see that video, that should make anybody cringe. From various vertical markets, no matter who you are, you're securing something for a reason. And to keep people out and you know, to be able to not worry about this hack, especially on my cable plant at the most vulnerable piece, that is a wonderful thing. So we're really happy that we can lend a hand right here. You know, and you're going to see other things, and we can table this anytime. I don't want to go off topic here, but the advanced user interface that's going to be with these new readers is amazing. It's going to be everything from welcome message to mitigation to a lot of things that you couldn't do before. And that's just another stepping stone in our intelligence of our buildings. And, you know, what we're telling you is standards-based integration. Like I mentioned, it's been around 10 years. CS got it out there in the second version. So this is a real standard with a real problem, and we have a real solution for you so that you can actually be secure. So this is one of the things that we really enjoy. And, you know, just like when we did the game changer, we also have, David actually, thank you, David, for creating this wonderful landing page for OSDP like we did with Game Changer, but everything from spec sheets to flyers to videos to live chats, everything like we've done before. You'll have a real person talking to you. This will continue to grow and grow and grow as we're working with a lot of our complementary manufacturing partners out there with case studies and testimonials and everything else. So we really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of us. We're happy to do this. And really the final takeaway is it's the only choice is to make your buildings more secure and more intelligent. And we really thank you for your time today.
Well said, Tony. Blake, do you have any questions either coming in from the community or any of your own, or did we cover everything that you wanted us to cover?
I think you covered most of what I wanted to hear personally. I'm looking at the Facebook group as well to see if there's anybody chiming in there. If there are any questions in the Zoom meeting, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A. So Ray Klein says, thank you guys for your time. That's not a question, but he said thank you.
He also
so
said great presentation with 3 exclamation points. So you're welcome and thank you.
He's a very excitable guy. We love having Ray Klein a part of the community to to help support. So thank you, Ray. I appreciate it. Let's see, who else do we have? The 3 means much love. Good. So there was not a question, but a comment in the Facebook group, or it was actually a post from Michael Miller, and he posted, "This is why you should be selling OSDP," and it's a YouTube link. I think it was probably the same thing you guys shared on that the ESP key hacking demonstration. So people are very aware of what's going on, and there are some very vocal people in the industry. Rodney Thayer is a very vocal person. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's helped move OSDP in the industry along quite a bit, and so I'm aware of that individual, as well as John Laurie. He's a firmware developer, and he's very aware of that. So
if we can help with anything, or if there's evaluations or anything that we can assist with, we would love to help you participate, because we take this very close to the heart. We're very sincere on making sure that we're delivering that next generation.
Yeah, and unlike Game Changer, which is a patented solution, what we're doing here with OSDP, you can find from us and from other vendors as well. In fact, our goal is simply to increase the total adoption of OSDP. We didn't feel that there was a loud enough voice, especially from the cabling companies that focus in the security industry, that was closing this education gap. And that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that you as security professionals have the information you need to make the right choices for your customers. And, to those people in the low voltage nation, I just also want to tip my hat. The way that everybody kind of helps each other out and supports each other really is making an impact in the security industry. So tip of the hat to the low voltage nation.
Very much.
Absolutely.
Very proud to be
are there
this. Thank you.
Yeah, are there any vendors, any manufacturers that you would recommend that are adopting OSDP? I know that Wavelength's on the card reader side.
Yeah, Wavelengths is great. HID is probably the leader in the space, and they're adopting it. And that's the Kleenex perhaps of it. Cypress Integration is also a really important company. They were one of the first, along with HID, to be writing the standards that became the OSDP adopted standard from SIA. And they also have a bunch of cool little widgets that can get you out of a jam in these situations where I couldn't pull wire or I didn't have a matching card reader. And, they've got a lot of good things too. So our friends at Cypress and at HID definitely should get a shout out. Wavelengths is doing great things too, of course.
Yeah, going at ISC, I spoke with several manufacturers out there. They're definitely leading, that are on the same charge with OSDP. So our hopes is to start putting this type of information on our OSDP landing page, so that if you are seeking this, or if anybody's out there that's listening that is a manufacturer in this, please let us know, because we want to fight the good fight with you so that people are educated. So when you make this decision, you have the right answer with the right facts.
Is there any reason why companies would not be adopting this moving forward on new installations?
Forward on new installations, it's an education gap if they're not adopted.
That's kind of what I was getting at to a certain extent. It's just and it's not even that big of a gap, really. It's just they just don't know the small little things that they need to do to get the job done.
And I've heard personally from installers that they may have spoken with a manufacturer and got a spec sheet for a well-known wire company. They look at that cable and it's got that braid, and they're like, this is like way different than I'm used to. And that made them think that the rest of it was going to be somehow more complicated than they could handle.
Right.
It was a point of hesitation that just left them sticking with what they were used to doing.
Right.
This cable, I hope, removes that point of hesitation and allows you to actually take the next steps towards trying it. There are going to be people who tell you, from a budget perspective, I may want to start changing things, but I don't have the money in my budget to do as much of the changing as I want. Right. Can I have a hybrid system? Some of it that's OSDP and some of it that's Wiegand. Yes, of course you can. Definitely start with the areas that are most sensitive in your building, right? Sensitivity is going to come from what bad things could happen if an unauthorized person got into this area, or maybe at an unauthorized time. And another area of sensitivity is, if I don't have any form of tamper or any form of maybe visual line of sight from a camera on what's happening at that card reader, I'm not going to know if some kid with a skateboard knocked this thing off the wall and it doesn't even work. There's no bidirectional communication in the old systems. And some of them do have tamper switches if there were enough conductors in the wire to hook that up. But the idea is that moving forward can happen in small steps, but there's really no reason not to move forward at this point. It's not, some people kind of related to analog versus digital in terms of video. You know, I'm not trying to make features and benefits on two different sides of an argument. There's really a hole in your boat, right? Don't worry about anything else. You got to plug that security gap.
Right.
Yeah. And every vertical market has their own holes. So they look at everything differently. So, I mean, we can spend a lot of time talking about, excuse me, every vertical market and how they deal with it, from education to healthcare to everything else. But I think the obvious is the obvious.
Right. I feel like governing bodies, you know, like HIPAA would even say like you have to secure your buildings properly. And it's a compliance issue at this point, I would imagine.
Yep.
So far, we've got the Security Industry Association saying that this is the standard that you should follow. And that for me and for many of us on this call should be enough to get going.
Yep, exactly. So pagedatacom.com/OSDP. I'm looking at it right now. It's a great resource, whether or not you purchase your cable. It's just a good resource from what I've gathered. So thank you for putting that together.
You're welcome. And more information is always going to be added to that. So if you find something you like day one, come back day 31. You may find some new stuff too.
Cool.
Yes.
All right. I don't see any other questions from the community, but did you guys have any closing remarks before we get off?
No, David, go ahead. I mean, we kind of did.
I think we've said this multiple times, and if people are still listening, God bless you for doing it. We'll let you go back to your day, and thanks so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'll take
All
care.
right, till next time.
Yep. See you guys.
Take
Yeah.
care.